good plan violently executed now is better than a perfect plan executed next week. And this is great military legends worth learning from. These words aren't just military doctrine. They are a psychological strike against every excuse you've ever made. They are a condemnation of the modern man who overanalyzes, who waits for the perfect moment, and who lets fear disguise itself as caution. The man who lived by this code was George S. Patton. He didn't just command armies, he commanded reality. He lived in a state of permanent aggression, not because he loved blood, but because he understood a truth that most people are too terrified to accept, that hesitation is a death sentence. Most people think Patton was simply a loudmouth with a penchant for ivory-handled revolvers and colorful language. Wrong. Patton was a practitioner of psychological dominance. He understood that the battle is won or lost in the mind, long before the first shot is fired. If you want to understand how men like this were forged and how to apply that same ruthlessness to your own life, stay with me. To understand the legend, you have to understand the obsession. George Patton wasn't born a general. He was born a student of war. While other children were playing games, Patton was studying the campaigns of Napoleon and Caesar. He didn't just read history, he inhaled it. He believed in reincarnation, convinced that he had been a Greek hoplite, a Roman legionnaire, and a cavalryman under Napoleon. This wasn't a delusion, it was a psychological anchor. He believed he was destined for greatness, and that belief created a standard of discipline that would have crushed an average man. He didn't strive for good enough. He strove for a level of perfection that felt aggressive to everyone around him. Average people believe that talent is the primary driver of success. That's why they stay average. Patton knew that talent is a baseline, but discipline is the multiplier. In his early years during the Pancho Villa Expedition, he didn't just follow orders. He sought the most dangerous assignments. He looked for the friction. He understood that growth only happens in the kill zone, the space where failure is a real possibility. Most modern men spend their entire lives avoiding friction. They seek comfort, they seek safety, and in doing so they atrophy. Patton did the opposite. He leaned into the chaos. He realized that the man who is most comfortable with chaos is the man who controls the battlefield. Then came the First World War. This was where the myth began to take physical form. Patton didn't just join the army, he helped invent the American Tank Corps. Now imagine the scene. The tank was a new, terrifying, unreliable piece of machinery. Most commanders were hesitant. They wanted to wait, to study, to ensure the perfect deployment. Patton saw the hesitation for what it was: weakness. He didn't want a manual, he wanted a breakthrough. He became the first American to lead a tank in battle, not by waiting for permission, but by asserting his will over the situation. But here is the illusion you need to break. People call this fearlessness. It wasn't. Patton felt fear. Every soldier does. The difference is that Patton treated fear as a reconnaissance report. He listened to it, acknowledged it, and then ordered it to stand down. He understood that the gap between the man who hesitates and the man who acts is where victory lives. This is the tactical edge. While the enemy is calculating the risks, the dominant man has already committed to the attack. In your own life, this is the difference between the person who spends 3 years planning a business and the person who launches a flawed product in 3 weeks and iterates through the pain. One is a strategist of comfort, the other is a warrior of results. But greatness always comes with a cost. The higher you climb, the thinner the air becomes, and the more isolated you feel. Patton's ascent was marked by a brutal honesty that made him an enemy to the bureaucracy. He didn't play politics, he didn't massage egos, he demanded excellence, and he hated those who couldn't provide it. This led to the infamous slapping incidents in Sicily, where he struck 2 soldiers suffering from shell shock. To the world, this looked like cruelty. To the military establishment, It was a liability. But if you look deeper, you see the psychological collision. Patton viewed battle fatigue not as a medical condition, but as a collapse of will. He believed that once a man accepted defeat in his mind, he was already dead. That sounds harsh. It is. But this is where most people fold. This is also where legends are made. Patton wasn't trying to be a therapist. He was trying to save lives by refusing to accept weakness. He knew that in the heat of combat, the only thing that keeps a man moving forward is a mind that refuses to break. He was fighting a war against the internal collapse of his men. He failed in the way he handled it, but his intent was rooted in a brutal truth. The world does not pity the weak. It consumes them. If you spend your life waiting for the world to be fair or for your environment to be supportive, you have already lost. The only support you can truly rely on is the armor of your own discipline. Despite the controversies, the world needed Patton's brand of violence. When World War II erupted, he became the Spearhead. From the deserts of North Africa to the shores of Sicily, Patton's Third Army didn't just advance. They obliterated. He practiced the art of mobile warfare, turning his tanks into a psychological weapon. He didn't just want to take territory, he wanted to shatter the enemy's will to exist. He understood that speed is a form of protection. The faster you move, the less time the enemy has to react. This is the principle of momentum. Once you build a winning streak, the psychological pressure on your opponent becomes unbearable. They stop fighting you and start fighting the inevitability of their own defeat. But the real battle for Patton wasn't against the Germans. It was against the constraints of his own command. He served under Eisenhower and Bradley, men who were capable, but who operated on a different frequency. They were managers. Patton was a conqueror. He felt the friction of their caution every single day. Imagine being a man who can see the path to victory clearly, only to be told to slow down, to coordinate, to wait. It is a specific kind of torture. This is the loneliness of the elite. When you operate at a level of intensity that others find exhausting, you will inevitably be misunderstood. You will be called arrogant. You will be called too much. Most people hear that and try to dim their light to fit in. They shrink their ambition so they don't make others uncomfortable. Patton did the opposite. He leaned into the persona. He wore the polished boots and the ivory handles not as vanity, but as psychological warfare. He wanted his men to look at him and see a god of war. He wanted the enemy to hear his name and feel a cold shiver of dread. He understood that perception is a force multiplier. If you look like a winner and act like a winner, you have already won half the battle. The defining moment of his legacy came during the Battle of the Bulge. The Allies were reeling. The Germans had launched a surprise offensive that threatened to collapse the line. Most generals would have taken days to pivot an entire army. Patton did it in 3. In a feat of logistical and tactical brilliance that still defies belief, he pivoted the Third Army 90 degrees and marched them straight into the heart of the enemy's flank. He did the impossible because he refused to accept that it was impossible. He didn't ask for permission to be legendary. He simply executed the maneuver. That should have been the pinnacle. But the cost of such dominance is a permanent state of tension. Patton lived his life as if he were in a constant state of attrition. He never learned how to turn it off. But he was a man forged for a world of fire and steel, and once the war ended, he found himself a stranger in a world of peace and compromise. He spent his final years in a strange limbo, a warrior without a war, a commander without a front line. Then came the end. Not on a battlefield, not in a blaze of glory, but in a car accident in Germany, a sudden mundane collision. The man who survived the greatest conflicts in human history was taken down by a wet road and a momentary lapse in control. It is a poetic, brutal irony. It reminds us that no matter how much power you wield, no matter how dominant your will, you are still subject to the laws of mortality. But Patton didn't leave behind just a record of victories. He left a blueprint. When we look at his life, we see a man who refused to be a victim of his circumstances. He didn't wait for the world to give him a role. He seized a role and defined it. He transformed his life into a weapon. So look at your own life right now. Where are you hesitating? Where are you waiting for the perfect plan? While your life slips through your fingers, you are probably telling yourself that you are being careful. You are probably calling your fear prudence. Wrong. You are just afraid. You are treating your life like a rehearsal, forgetting that the curtain has already risen and the clock is ticking. Patton's life teaches us that the only way to truly live is to act with a level of audacity that terrifies the average person. It means setting a standard for yourself that is so high it feels offensive to others. It means embracing the friction, seeking the struggle, and understanding that pain is not a signal to stop, but a signal that you are finally moving. The modern world wants you soft. It wants you compliant. It wants you to overthink until you are paralyzed. Patton is the antidote to that paralysis. He is the reminder that the will to win is the only thing that actually matters. Everything else, the tools, the timing, the resources, is secondary. If you have the will, you will find a way. If you don't, you will find an excuse. Stop searching for the perfect moment. There is no perfect moment. There is only the moment you decide to stop being a spectator in your own life. There is only the moment you decide to execute your plan violently and without apology. Be the storm. Be the spearhead. Be the person who doesn't just survive the chaos, but directs it. That is the legacy of George S. Patton. Not just a series of battles won, but a testament to the power of an unbreakable will. The question is, do you have the courage to apply that same ruthlessness to your own existence? Or will you remain a footnote in someone else's victory? If you enjoyed this story, make sure to subscribe to Tactical Legends for more powerful journeys from the lives of history's greatest warriors. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next story.